So this summer I have gone and signed up to what is potentially going to be the toughest physical challenge I've ever undertaken, and what is considered by many as one of the toughest amateur one-day cycling events you can do, the Marmotte Granfondo. If you aren't familiar with the Marmotte, well, it is a Granfondo based out in the French Alps in the middle of summer, covering 177 kilometers distance and 5,000 meters of elevation, which includes some of the most iconic climbs in the French Alps. We're talking the Telegraph, the Galibier, the Glandon, and if that wasn't enough, it finishes up Alpe d'Huez. Now, this is an event that'd be a long day, even for the more seasoned cyclist amongst us. The catch there is, I am not seasoned at all. In fact, I only started taking road cycling more seriously in the last couple of months. I'm a latecomer to the world of endurance sports. I didn't start running until I was 28 years old. I didn't start cycling until I was 29. I'm now 30. So this is going to be a seriously big, grueling day out on the bike for me, and one that I am going to spend the next 4 months preparing for to make sure that I can be in decent enough shape to get round in one piece. So the good news is I've got a while to get in shape, and the even better news is I've actually spent the last month since the start of 2025 training like a world tour guy. Kind of. I've been doing some fairly consistent weeks. We're talking like 150k to 200k weeks, and I've even been on a couple of solo training camps to Calpe and Mallorca to really dial in the training. A professional amateur.
Come on, mate. 3, 2, 1.
Today we're having a dig up the Col de Rats, which is one of the more iconic climbs in the Costa Blanca region of Spain. Literally any excuse just to escape the UK winter and ride the bike in a nice place. So to give you a little bit of a better idea as to the elevation profile, I thought we'd go through it. Basically what you can see is 177 kilometers. We just have 3 climbs, but the problem is them 3 climbs are f***ing gigantic. Fresh out the gates you have yourself the Glandon. This is the first climb after about 10 kilometers, and the stats on this are 20.9 kilometers at an average gradient of 7%, ascending 1,471 vertical meters. When you descend down the other side, you have about a 40-kilometer stint of flat before you reach the foot of the biggest climb of the day, which is the Col de Galibier. This is literally one of the biggest climbs in the world. Specs on it are a little bit of a joke. Talking 34 kilometers in distance, covering 2,000 vertical meters, so 34k at an average gradient of 6%. Going to be sat on that thing for hours getting to the top of that, plodding away. But the good thing about going up these climbs is if you can make it to the top, you do get to descend down the other side, and they will be some of the best descents you'll ever do. Then if you can conquer the Glandon, you can conquer the Galibier, you just have the small task of finishing up Alpe d'Huez. Now this is the shortest climb of the day, which is good news, but it's still 13.8 kilometers at an average gradient of 8%, so it's a serious climb in and of itself, let alone at the end of a day like that. In the world of cycling, I'm a relatively big boy. I'm 6'2", 75 kgs on a good day. I'm not built to climb. I'm going to do my best to prepare myself for the hills and become the certified mountain goat to make sure I can get around. But with that said, I can do all the training in the world to prepare myself for the distance and the elevation. What I can't prepare for is the heat. Now in the peak of summer, the temperature in the Alps can get scarily hot. We're talking 30 odd degrees, 38 degrees some years, and I am not built for heat. Whilst the course profile concerns me a lot, what really concerns me the most is doing it in the heat. I've had one experience cycling in temperatures exceeding 30 degrees Celsius last year in Lisbon when we went out to watch the Vuelta. We went on a 100-kilometer loop in 36 degrees heat. It was utterly horrendous.
Go on without me.
No.
And it nearly ended with me getting heat stroke. It was like riding your bike in a sauna. And the final thing to contend with is the fact that the event is taking place at altitude, so it's going to be like riding your bike in a sauna, breathing through a straw, climbing a mountain. Going to be good. But that's enough pessimism, because to be honest with you, I am so gassed to be training for an event like this. The process of getting in shape for it as well, so far is what I'm enjoying. Really enjoying putting down some good time out on the bike. I've done a lot of marathons in the past, I've done 4 marathons. The process of training for them was mixed. I've had some blocks where I've loved it, some blocks where I've hated it, and I've never really done anything like this cycling wise, so given a shot at just trying to get wham on the bike is something I'm very looking forward to. And let's be honest, is there anything better than riding your bike in a nice place in nice weather? Pretty tough one. Like I said earlier, I got into this endurance stuff late. I'm 30 years of age now, and I want to try and do as many of this challenging sort of thing as possible, especially on the bike, because that is where I'm really finding proper enjoyment at the minute. I can't tell you how much I'm loving riding the bike. My approach to getting in shape for the Marmotte is going to be quite a simple one. I'm not using a coach, I'm not using any apps or anything like that. I'm doing it mainly based on enjoyment levels and just trying to up my volume to get ready for the sort of longer distances. And that's going to include a couple of races as well along the way. Next month I have my first event of the season, which is the Loch Ness Tap, which is 100 kilometers with about 1,000 meters of elevation. So it's going to be a nice one to get the legs spinning and see what we can do over the 100k distance. It's also worth noting I do this content stuff self-employed for a living, so I have a lot of flexible time in which I can bake in my training. I don't have to worry about working 9 to 5, etc. I have no kids. I have no responsibilities basically, which is perfect for me. And perfect for training for a bike event because that shit takes up a lot of time. Speaking of my training, I have just come off the back of my biggest week ever out in Calpe. I did 383 kilometers with 5,700 meters of elevation. 15 hours on the bike in 1 week. That is crazy. And yeah, you can see just in general, I've been increasing the volume over the last couple of months starting from this year, averaging anywhere from, like 150k to 300k weeks, basically. Depends on where I am and the weather. And when I was out in Calpe, I did an all-out 20-minute test, an FTP test, basically up the Col de Rats, which resulted in 20 minutes at 293 watts, which gives me an FTP of 278 watts at this moment in time. Gives me an FTP as we speak around 3.7 watts per kilogram, which is notably better than I tested at the end of December last year, where I was spitting out a 3.4 watts per kilogram FTP. That was off the back of a ramp test on Zwift, not even a 20-minute all-out test. So we're moving in the right direction, and if I can keep this up over the next couple of months, it should be a beautiful day out on the bike. And I'm going to be documenting all the racing, some of the training, and just the journey to the Marmotte. So if you're interested, follow along, subscribe, and yeah, appreciate you watching this far, and I'll see you in the next one where we should be out in Mallorca.